In today's video, we're looking at the top 10 toys you might have in your closet that could make you rich. And coming in at number 10, it's the Royal Blue Beanie Baby. Released by the TY Toy Company, Beanie Babies are stuffed toys filled with little plastic beans. They became hugely collectible and sought after, but the rarest Beanie Baby is the Royal Blue Elephant, called Peanut. Released in 1995, the elephant was supposed to be light blue, but a factory mistake created the collectible Royal Blue model. Highly desired, the Royal Blue Peanut has sold for more than $3,000 at auction. Number 9. A 1954 Superman versus the robot Lunchbox. Lunchboxes weren't always cheap plastic pails covered in Justin Bieber stickers. No, they used to be pure metal, and thousands of them were sold to kids across America. Most were plain or had scenes from the latest hottest films. Superman first appeared in comics in 1938, but it took until the 50s before he started making an appearance on lunchboxes. Considered the holy grail of lunchboxes, the Superman box was released in 1954 by Universal and, in mint condition, can sell for over $11,000. Number 8. G.I. Joe 1994 Manimals Vortex MOC C-7. Hasbro was the maker of the popular line of armed elite soldiers called G.I. Joes. In the 90s, as demand was flagging, they planned to release a series of G.I. Joe aliens called the Manimals. All the Manimals had a transforming ability and could have capitalized on the Transformer market. In addition, the Manimals were larger in size than the regular 3 3/4-inch figures. They were set to be released, but were pulled from shelves at the last minute. But some made it out to the public and are now one of the most sought-after collector toys. One has recently sold for $21,000. Number 7. Star Wars Power of the Force Tri-Logo Ewok Combat Playpack from 1984. After Return of the Jedi, George Lucas released a combo set of stormtroopers and Ewoks, with some Ewok weapons used during the final showdown between the Furballs and the forces of the Empire. These Star Wars figures were a hot item for kids, and so few complete sets survive to this day. Part of the Jedi action set, this combo pack is even rarer and sells for thousands of dollars on eBay. Number 6. Black Lotus Magic Card. Magic the Gathering, or Magic Cards, is one of the first collectible trading card games. Released in 1993 by Richard Garfield, the cards allow people to play as wizards, with each player having their own deck of cards that they can use to cast spells against each other. The most expensive of these cards is the Black Lotus, a signed version from Garfield, sold for $25,000. Number 5. 1982 World's Fair Astronaut B Pez Dispenser. The 1982 World's Fair Astronaut B Pez Dispenser was a prototype sent out to the World's Fair Board. It was never put in production, but Pez employees were given copies from the factory. When one turned up on eBay, the winning bid was an impressive $32,205. Number 4. Nintendo Stadium Events. The Nintendo Stadium Events game is the holy grail of cartridge video games. It was released in the States in 1987 with the family fun Fitness Mat, a short-lived control pad that used feet instead of hands. In 1988, Nintendo bought out the FFF and replaced it with the Power Pad. Games that were released with the FFF were taken off the shelves and destroyed, leaving this one of the rarest games out there, waiting for you to discover in a yard sale somewhere. In 2011, one sold for $22,800. Number 3. C9 Plus Painted J-Slot Rocket-Firing Boba Fett. Boba Fett entered Star Wars canon in the horrible and ill-planned 1978 Star Wars Christmas special. Even though he was a bit player, his brief scene caused a huge surge of interest and earned him a massive group of fans that searched for and snatched up any collectible they put on the shelves. To meet this demand, a Boba Fett with a rocket arm, nicknamed Rocket Fett, that shot a plastic missile was planned, but events somewhere nixed the release. A Battlestar Galactica toy with a similar firing mechanism caused some injuries, and one child even died from choking after it was shot into his mouth. Faced with the backlash, the toy makers pulled the Rocket Fett, but some prototypes made it out into the world, and one could be sitting in your closet right now. An authenticated C9 Plus painted J-slot rocket-firing Boba Fett prototype with automatic prototype B-sided rocket would go for around $25,000. Number 2. 55 PB Teddy Bear. In the 19th century German town of Glengen, seamstress Marguerite Stief had discovered what seems natural to us today: kids love a toy they can squeeze and cuddle. This was big news back then, as kids' toys were little more than tin soldiers and porcelain dolls. Marguerite stumbled on the concept of making soft toy elephants that kids could hug, and it caught on like wildfire. At the turn of the century, her nephew gave her the idea to also make bears. The first design run was called 55PB. The 55 stood for its height, 55 centimeters, P stood for plush, and B for Bühlerglitch, which is German for movable. An American saw the prototype and immediately ordered 3,000, as a Teddy Roosevelt hunting incident caused a craze for presidential toys that were called teddy bears. The bears were shipped off to America and just disappeared. People claim they are some of the first bears ever made and are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but no one can find any. No one knows what happened to them, but they suspect shoddy German manufacturing meant that they didn't have a long life before falling apart, but somewhere out there, one might be waiting to be discovered. Number 1. Rear Loader Beach Bomb. The Beach Bomb was a prototype car to be marketed as a scaled-down version of the real VW bus, but the man wanted all Hot Wheels to be able to be used on metal racetracks. The Beach Bomb's center of gravity was too high, and surfboards hanging out of the back caused it to tilt up. The prototype, now known as the Rear Loader Beach Bomb, or RLBB, was produced an unknown amount of times by admirers in the metal factories, but the mass-produced version with surfboards on the side and lower profile was the one eventually released to the public. The surviving RLBBs are worth tens of thousands of dollars. In 1999, a collector paid $72,000 for a beach bomber, and in 2009, a collector listed his RLBB for $150,000. So I really hope you enjoyed that video, and I'd love to know what you think of it, so please leave a comment below. I'm also going to link over to another video that you might enjoy, so just click on that thumbnail on the screen now, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we put out a new video 7 days a week, and you can also visit us online. Just go to TopTenz.net. Thanks for watching.